My Voice is a chance for those who have struggled with addiction, homelessness, depression, and domestic violence to have a candid conversation about their life experience, current situation, and future goals and aspirations. Every episode is conducted anonymously to facilitate a comfortable and safe place for guests to tell their story. My Voice is hosted by Mike Sisson, who works as a case manager at the My House facilities in Wasilla, Alaska. We now join a My Voice conversation, already in progress.
If you could go back and have dinner with somebody who's no longer on this earth, their physical body is gone and passed away, who would it be and why? Doesn't have to be a celebrity, anybody.
Albert Einstein. Just for all the contributions, everything. And it'd just be an interesting conversation. If I could somehow get Stephen Hawking in there too, that'd be great.
It sounds like a really fascinating dinner party already.
Heck, even go back in time, back to the day that Stephen Hawking did the future party where he only sent out the invitation after the party to see if there was actual time travel. That would be cool to just show up to that.
That would be epic. Do you have like a specific question you'd ask Albert Einstein, or do you just have like lots of them and you just want to talk to him?
Just talk.
Cool.
Just the era he was in, the generation of technology he created, the generation of power he created, just the history that he made possible.
That's a great answer. Says a lot about you, I feel like. So where were you born?
Anchorage, Alaska.
Have you ever left the state?
Multiple times. I've lived in Arizona for 2.5 years. Before moving back to Wasilla, I've lived in Michigan for 9.5 years. Hated it. Well, I hated Arizona more.
I was just about to ask, how did you like Michigan? You beat me to the punch.
Too flat. And people are... It's better amenities, but the people are still somewhat worse.
I see. Well, that's a fair... You lived there for 9 years, so I was there for 2 weeks. I can't really argue with you on that. You know more about it than I do, that's for sure. Out of all the times you traveled outside of Alaska, what was your favorite trip you've ever taken?
1 month solo across Europe. Living in hostels. Did a year of college, had money saved, about $6,000. I just said, I need to relax. I need a break. Did a short 3-day event in Britain. Then just France, Germany. Hit military museums along the way. Hit zoos along the way. Just hit a town for 3 days, stayed in a hostel, went on to the next town.
Wow, I am green with jealous rage right now. I want to do that so bad. I have a wife and 3 kids now, so it's going to be a little bit tough for me to accomplish that. It's still on my bucket list. Wow. So in that trip for a month, how many places did you hit? Do you remember?
Paris, France for the 3rd time. A town south of France, Saumur, France, where they had France's National Military Museum. Then hit Kiel, Germany afterwards, which they had a town to the west or east that has a actual German U-boat and naval museum with it. Then I hit a town south of Hamburg where they had Germany's National Military Vehicle Museum. Hit Berlin, Munich, and then Nuremberg.
Wow. Wow. Tell me about your upbringing. How was your life as a child? Did you go through some hard stuff? Was it a pretty normal, objectively, air quote, normal childhood?
Single male child raised by a single mother. Easy life somewhat, but it's still... Don't learn some things that have been nice to have learned with a father around. Did get to travel a lot because federal employee makes a lot of money, yada, yada, yada. Get to do a lot of stuff, but some things you just don't learn with just a single parent around.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Was your father just never in the picture? Did you ever know him?
Knew him, got to meet him a couple of times, but really never in the picture.
Gotcha.
Because also at the same time, majority of the time, out of state or not in the same area.
Got you. Okay. Did you fall on any hard times growing up aside from just a lack of not learning some things? Did you guys ever hit any rough patches, any devastating blows to either you or your mother?
Not really, because not really some I would count that way. Losing pets hurts. That's some of the harder stuff, especially ones you've had for like 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
And only the hard stuff started to hit once I basically should have been moving out, but I really couldn't because of events that happened in in 2020. That really sort of didn't make me want to try because it's the events happening in the world at the time.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the lockdowns and the pandemic and all that. Okay. So your childhood was relatively normal, grew up with a single mom, traveled a lot. Federal employee, you said. What did your mom do?
Public health. There's uniformed services, which is Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard. Then there's a few unarmed portions like NOAA, Northern Atlantic Oceanic Association or something, just mostly weather stuff. Then there's United States Public Health, which they can work in any federal building as a nurse or anything like that. They get similar pay to commissioned officers, and they're only commissioned officers equivalent to the branch they were serving in or whatever base pay it is, and they can get the 20 years, same retirement, same pay. The only time they actually get activated and could possibly go to a war zone or stuff is if a natural disaster happens and they're an ally of USA or a USA territory. So the one time she did get activated was for Puerto Rico when they got hit.
Okay.
Which was in 2019, I believe, by the earthquake or hurricane that she got activated. Spent 2 weeks there helping their infrastructure get reset for the hospitals and whatnot. And it's just an amazing thing just that we have that ability to still somewhat help other nations or other territories.
Absolutely. Did you go with her?
No. It's just sending that person over.
Gotcha. Okay. And are you an only child? No siblings?
Yes.
Okay. So you just hung out when she left?
I was on my own at that point.
Oh, I see.
That was
yeah,
when
of
I
course.
was. I lived with my mom until August of 2017. Lived on my own until about January of 2020, until she moved back into the place I was living in to go to college, which I only did for a year and dropped out.
I see. Did she have any involvement recently in what's been going on in Ukraine, helping over there?
No, she retired as of October 2020.
So gotcha.
That's the month we moved back to Alaska from Michigan.
Okay, so you grew up. You were born in Anchorage. You grew up in a couple of different places. Spent a good chunk of your life in Michigan. When you moved back to Alaska from Michigan, your mom, that's when she retired.
Yes.
Okay. What ended up bringing you to my house?
I spent all of 2020 lockdown, and I didn't want to get a job because it's a pandemic, so I didn't get a job. Then we moved, and I again did the same thing in Alaska as well. And she kept trying to push me to get a job. She even got me in contact with my house in January. I did nothing with it until April, and that's the point. Mid-April is when she kicked me out. I was staying in a motel nearby, 2-mile walk. That's when I actually got fully in contact, started working with my house, and and 2 weeks later, I had a internship at the boutique.
So you got in touch with my house in January.
Yeah.
During that time where you said you didn't do anything with my house, what were you doing? You were just at At home still?
Playing video games. If I could stream sometimes. Just doing nothing.
Okay. And then your mom in April was like, okay, you have to go.
Yep. And that was middle of April. She let me pack up all my stuff, dropped me off at the Windbreak Motel, the one that's got the Trout Cafe next to it.
Yep, Windbreak.
Yeah. Stayed there for 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, I was constantly walking almost every day up to my house, filling out paperwork, and near middle of or towards the end of the second week, did an interview, got the internship with the boutique, and was moved into housing on May 1st, or the first Monday of May.
Would you say there was some contention between you and your mom at the time? I remember when you first came in, and it seemed like it was pretty tense at the time. Like there was some...
I definitely deserved what she did to me because I wasn't doing any effort when I was in her house, when she was trying to help me, and it just got me off my ass and got me to actually do work instead of just sitting around waiting for something to happen.
Well, major props to you for owning your piece in your situation. A lot of people struggle with that, so just props to you for that. You moved into my house on what day, do you recall, into our housing?
It was the first Monday of May 2021, which I think was the first. I'd have to look at a calendar.
So if I remember correctly from what you just said, you moved in and started an internship pretty much the same day.
Yep.
I do recall when you first came, you had very long hair.
Yes.
And
you can still see some of the length.
Yes. And somebody, I don't know if it was Justin, I don't know who it was, told you that you should get a haircut.
Yep.
And when you came in with a haircut, it was like a new person.
Yeah.
You looked like a new person just in general because the transformation was just crazy. And just a perspective from somebody sitting in the office that didn't have interaction with you. It was like a statement to everybody who worked here that, man, glad we gave him a shot. You just, something as simple as a haircut or doing what was asked of you, it spoke volumes to everybody in here. So let's talk about the boutique. You started in the boutique. How long did you intern in the boutique?
From May 1st to about middle of August, so 3.5 months.
3.5 months. And during that time, it's my recollection that you walked and rode your bike to work every day and did not miss. Is that correct?
Walked and rode my bike every day, and the only days I missed were days that I had off because I was doing external programs such as the heavy equipment mechanic training for 2 weeks, 80 hours, and then the few days of driver's education to finally get my license.
So from what our conversation has been so far, what you've disclosed, you had a pretty good childhood.
I really had no want for anything. Basically, everything was provided.
Then you get all the way up to the point where you start college, you needed a break, you travel abroad, you come back home, you hit a rut due to the pandemic and everything that was going on, lost steam, lost motivation, came to my house, utilized our services from the internship to NIT, heavy equipment training, driver's
Not
license.
NIT, it was the AAOOE something.
Local 308.
Yeah.
That one.
The one that was through
Connect Tribe.
Connect Tribe, yes.
Through that partnership. Yeah, that's right. You utilized all of these things, and do you feel like without that moment where your mom said, okay, enough is enough, do you feel like you would have gotten to the point where you motivated yourself to start moving again?
No. I know if I find something I'm in, I enjoy doing nothing. And so I just got stuck doing nothing. It needed something like that to get me to actually get up and moving. There's been multiple cases where I needed that kick, someone else to say enough is enough. We're taking stuff away. We're doing something. Because high school for me, I was before high school, I was one of the better students. I was like top of the class for a lot of the classes. Just then high school just killed my spirits and I stopped wanting to do the work. I technically passed high school, but towards the end I wasn't putting in a lot of work towards some of the classes just because I stopped caring about writing. And the school even created a program to help students that were somewhat failing to help them get some of their work done in school. I can't remember the person's name, but without her in high school, I may not have passed some of my classes, so I wouldn't have had the chance to try university. Charbonneau, I believe, at Dundee High School. She helped me get through a lot of stuff there.
You said high school kind of took the motivation from you. What happened in high school? What was it that caused that motivation to go away?
I just they had the usual policy of if you respond to the bullying with violence, you both get punished. And a majority of the time, since no one really saw the bullies acting towards me and just my response to them, I was the one getting punished the most often. So it's a lot of the time as well, writing, I used to enjoy writing, used to enjoy drawing, but then the teachers tried to take as much emotion out of it, and it just killed me. I enjoyed math, I enjoyed physics, history, chemistry, I enjoyed all those classes, but once it got to the writing portion, I died. Because you had to try and remove as much emotion because that's not what they wanted. They just wanted you to repeat what they had and put it back on paper.
Wow.
I also enjoyed the AutoCAD classes, which is something I should have went for with college, but I just went for the option that's, I can do all these classes, get this degree, go to this job, get a lot of money, instead of I am enjoying these classes. That's something I'm good at. I can most likely power through my classes quickly and be done and working.
So what I'm hearing you say is you had a very, very heavy passion for writing at some point.
Not really, just writing is what killed my grades because I couldn't keep up with all the writing too.
Oh, I see.
So that's what killed all my grades. I'm actually more of a mathematics.
Oh, so you struggled with writing?
Yeah.
It just in general?
Just in general, and they tried just having me remove emotion, and that just doesn't help. But the math portion of the school, I was like, one of the teachers said, they can't trust me with homework, but if there was a national testing, I'd be the only student they'd send for testing for mathematics.
Wow. That is, so just that struggle, that frustration really, and bullying, a mixture of that and bullying is what really just kind of started to make you lose steam in general, just life.
Yeah.
The bullying that took place, was it just normal high school bullying? Did you get targeted for any specific reason?
So this will be something I'll finally talk about. I'm Michigan, heavily, especially in the farming communities, heavily right-leaning. I'm definitely not of that variety. And a few things came out. High school also made me question a few things and made me realize more things about myself. And lots of people realized that and knew about it, and they pushed on that. And another thing was, since part of it was me not liking my body, I always wore a heavy jacket. So I always was sweating, and they targeted that as well. So it just built. There was several times I've, even in front of teachers, said I wanted to take a gun to the school. And one of them even said, "Don't think like that. You're not supposed to think like that." And did just nothing. And I used to always carry a Leatherman on me. Never did take the knife to myself other than to scrape my skin. Never, but yeah.
So the bullying really took a toll on your mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. What also sucked was from 5 to 14, I was on the usual thing that they put 90s kids on because they believed everyone had ADHD, was they put me on Ritalin from starting to 200 milligram doses. Towards the end, it was near 300 plus milligrams. After I stopped taking them at 14, what really happened was my body, since I was constantly eating and it was using all that for energy, plus at the time puberty, my body did shoot up, but then I also started to expand out. I didn't get to the point where I was fat everywhere, but I was noticeably fatter. And that's one thing that I've always hated. But after college, that 1 month Europe trip, I actually had my weight down to where I was happy at like 210 pounds from my usual 250, 260. I even once was like near 290.
Mm.
And it was mostly stress eating, stress, and soda. Once I cut soda, once I went to a decent diet, which was mostly just rice-based meals and potatoes, I was actually happy with my body for a few months, if not half a year. But then COVID happened, and I couldn't really properly eat how I wanted to. And now I'm back to my 250, and since summer's around, I'm hoping to bike more, but I'm still having to drive a lot, which sucks.
Now, that really tells me a lot of stuff. What you went through in high school. A lot of people don't call that trauma. A lot of people are very calloused to bullying and just say it's part of life. I don't agree with that. I think that there is a heavy amount of trauma dealt to people who are bullied in middle school and high school, and it's something that people need to heal from. So I just want to encourage you to not undermine that or underplay it or try to stuff it too much. I just want to encourage you whenever you have the time or you feel like you can to deal with that and heal through that stuff, because it's heavy. And just from the little that you expressed, it affected you in a major way. Like I can see it visibly here in the room talking to you. I could feel it when you were fighting to even express some of the things, I just want to encourage you in that. Do you want to spend any more time talking about high school? Is there anything else you need to say about that? I don't want to rush you through that part.
One thing, again, another teacher there, Jeff Bach, physics teacher. He was also the teacher that was part of the program to help students to get extra time on work. He was the most energetic, the most passionate, the best teacher ever. He did physics. He did a lot of the science classes. Then another teacher was Jarima, who was the high school PE teacher, which I took PE just because I could have a class with him every year.
Wow.
He was the 7th grade math teacher, and he was the one that was, I don't trust you doing homework, but if I had a national test I needed someone to do, that would be just, the teachers were great for some of the classes. High school was the worst time for me, but it also just some of the experiences around. High school also had me doing, for 10th grade, I was in robotics with a program called FIRST, which is a national competition. Robotics was fun. I loved the building aspect. I never got to do any of the programming for the robot. it was fun to try and fix the robot constantly because small school, small amount of money. Even though we're in Detroit, we had a few of the auto like companies around give sponsorships. Still didn't mean we had much. So we were a small school, small team. The robot was bad, constantly breaking, but it was fun trying to constantly fix it. And another event, which was right after that ended, I was on New Orleans New Orleans has a National World War II museum because New Orleans was a major manufacturing depot for landing vehicles for World War II. They had landing craft for beaches in Normandy, especially in the Pacific Coast, Pacific Theater. And they have the National World War II Museum there, and then they offered high school students and early college students educational trips, and I got to go on one of them for the 71st anniversary of D-Day. So I was in Europe almost exactly over the 71st anniversary for D-Day, and I almost constantly I was going on trips via them.
Wow. That is super cool. So you grew up, had a pretty good childhood. You single mom, only child. You didn't really hit anything hard until high school, and then it really hit you, it sounds like. Then all of these other things that we've talked about took place to where you ended up with My House. You took advantage of the internship program. You took advantage of training programs. You really took advantage of anything that was handed to you, and you continued to show up and do the things that were asked of you. Then what happened?
I'm middle of July, late July, I got a job at a restaurant doing dishes, and I still continue to work at the boutique because we were going through construction, so I wanted to be around to just try and help. Realized I can't handle two jobs at once, especially a day job and a night job. But I dropped the boutique, continued with the dishwasher. I am still working at that place. I am now actually selling food. It is great. This place has been great. It's been helpful.
So was there anything else you took advantage of? Any other programs? I think there was the donated vehicle too.
Yes.
At one point.
That vehicle helped. It was a good first car. Had to sell it in January this year to start to develop a transmission leak.
As first cars do.
Yeah. Alternator died, battery died. Something else wrong with the engine. Then they were saying the brakes also needed to be changed soon, but sold the car in January. My mom transferred the truck to the truck that she was driving. She bought a new vehicle for herself. The truck for my mom has been driving great since.
Great. So once you hit My House, you got some fire under you from getting kicked out of your house, took advantage of our services, went from a housing client to now you're a house lead.
Yes, that too. House lead, yep.
Yep, you're a house lead, and you're doing a great job at that. And as far as I can tell, it's the sky's the limit for you, and I'm really excited. What is the most impactful memory you've had since being at My House, or what is the thing that impacted you the most since you've been in our services?
Just seeing the amount of work you do, all the little places you are, all the people you've helped, all the people you will help, all the people you can help, all the places you can reach. It's just an amazing place in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. If there was a place like this in Michigan, I may still be in Michigan, but with them instead. But I never tried to find out because I just didn't put the effort in.
Yeah, from what I understand, we hear very, very often that there's not really anywhere like this anywhere in the United States. If people come and visit. Was there any particular moment with any particular staff member that stood out to you and impacted you? And aside from all the help we provide, was there anything for you, like internally that was a moment that was special to you or that stands out in your mind?
Not really. It's every part of it was great. I enjoyed working with Ian, being my manager, with Tanya being my manager. Those two were great. Working at the boutique. Just, yeah, every part of it was great. There's just no one moment that's better than the rest.